Wayward is an image comic written by Jim Zup about a girl from Ireland moving to Tokyo where she finds herself fighting mythical monsters. I hope you enjoy.
Our tale begins with a jet landing in Japan and a young red-headed woman drawing Japanese letters onto the windows. She's nervous, scared, and slightly anxious about landing in Japan because she's moving there with her mother. Her father is an Irish engineer and her mother is a Japanese seamstress. Their fun time together didn't last, and Rory was sent to Ireland to live with her father in order to allow her to have a normal teenage life. But that didn't work out. They just didn't get along, and now she's coming to Japan to live with her mother. To make matters worse, she's now in a place with 128 million people, and she has no idea how to find her mother. But Rory has always had the ability to just know, kind of like a sixth sense, where she needs to be and what she needs to do. She eventually makes it to the overjoyed home of her mother, and she welcomes her to her new home and insists that she speak Japanese so she can get into the proper practice before school begins. But before she can show Rory around, she needs to go to work and promises that she'll spend some time with her daughter once she gets home. Rory isn't upset though, the jet lag is getting the better of her and she tries to get a nap in anyway. When that's unsuccessful, she decides to go exploring. She walks around the city seeing all of the people and the amazing sights, and she finds herself grabbing some food, a drink, and browsing the local bookstore. But eventually, she ends up down an alley that gets progressively creepier as she goes deeper into it. Just as she thinks she's had enough and she's getting too nervous, she turns around to see cats. Lots of cats following her. And when she thinks that this couldn't get any creepier, 3 men see her and they begin to advance on her. They definitely don't look friendly, and Rory nervously backs up against a nearby wall. "You and your crazy cats should just back off, okay?" she yells at them. But the thugs look at each other. What cats? When suddenly a blue-haired girl leaps on top of them. She lands on their backs and she begins to tear their faces off, revealing underneath some crazy demons. This mysterious girl shows off some insane moves, leaping over these monsters and hitting them with a stick that she found on the ground. She then turns to Rory. "Are you gonna help or not?" And then she gets right back to it, kicking and blocking the monster's moves. Rory looks shocked. She has no idea what to do, so she screams, "Leave us alone!" and she hits the monster with a bag of her food. The blue-haired girl smiles to Rory as she sees her getting involved, revealing what appears to be fangs. Realizing that they may be overwhelmed soon, Rory looks around to see if she can see any of the connections, see if her sixth sense will kick in to give her a path that they should take to get out of here. And just like before, the red lines paint a path for her and she tells her newfound friend, "We've got to get out of here." Rory then jumps off the walls following the red ribbons that have been revealed to her, and her new friend follows. The two of them make their way to a rooftop where the blue-haired girl joyously states, "I knew there was something special about you." As they make their way to the street below, Rory is still trying to figure out what happened, and the blue-haired girl begins to beg for some strawberry milk while scratching at a local vending machine. "Milk, please!" Confused, Rory buys it for her and she introduces herself, and the blue-haired girl says her name is AN. She explains that those were Kappa, creatures from the shadows, and they're getting bold now, so something nasty must be coming. And as mysteriously as AN appeared, she vanishes, leaving Rory questioning what she should do next. Rory makes her way home and her mother welcomes her back, stating that she isn't mad that Rory vanished into the night. Tokyo is a safe place. But Rory still apologized to her mother and she chose to keep her little adventure secret as she went to bed for the evening. The next day was her first day at school, and to make the whole transition even worse for her, her teacher commented that the principal doesn't like punks in this school, so he recommended that Rory dye her hair to a natural color, even if the red color is her actual natural color. With that added onto the whole Kappa demon and the mysterious blue-haired girl situation, Rory goes to the cafeteria and discovers that the red ribbons are pointing her to a lonely boy who is sitting all by himself. It's all too much for her and she can't cope with this. So she retreats to the bathroom where we discover there's a darker side to Rory. She's cutting herself and cutting the word alone into her arm. She walks out of the toilet and sees herself in the mirror and she says to herself, "You're a real piece of work, Rory Lane." And Rory gets through the rest of her day. But as she's beginning to leave the school, she sees the boy again and all of the ribbons pointing right to him. So she does what any person would do and she follows him. And they go down some back paths and eventually end up at what appears to be a shrine, where she witnesses the boy swallowing a spirit. Blue veiny marks begin to appear on his skin and his eyes begin to give off a smoky appearance. So Rory gasps. He turns and he sees her, so she tries to run, but he leaps into the air like a superhero. No matter how fast she runs, his leaping covers more ground than she can possibly go. So eventually, he lands in front of her. He then grabs her by the arms and she slaps him across the forehead, leaving a mark that translates into weakness. Immediately, he stops and he falls to his knees with tears in his eyes. I don't want to hurt anyone. I'm cursed. I need to eat spirit energy to survive and keep my anger under control. Realizing that they're both two freaks in a giant city, Rory wipes the mark off his forehead and they introduce themselves. He's Shiri, and he is her new friend. They spend a little time getting to know each other until a bunch of cats show up again, seemingly leading Rory away. She tells Shiri to come with her and that these cats led her to a girl fighting turtle monsters yesterday. He thinks this whole thing is dumb because she's talking to cats, but then she reminds him that the entire situation is weird. She can see ribbons and he eats ghosts, so why don't they follow the cats and see where this leads them? What they find is a young boy apparently asleep being tormented by ghosts, and then suddenly Ayen appears behind them. Ayen and Shiri leap into battle against the ghost while Rory runs over to get the kid on his feet. After Shiri punches clean through the ghost, dissipating it, the boy introduces himself as Nikaido. And as the others begin to notice, he also has a weird power. The whole group begins to figure everything out and Rory takes point on this new ragtag group of new friends. But she doesn't know if she can do this. She's already doubting herself as she begins to tell everyone to meet up and try to sort this out tomorrow. What is she doing? What has she gotten herself into? But then as everyone agrees and they look up to her, she thinks to herself, they don't hate me? Ayen makes the situation even more lighthearted as she asks, smiling, do we get a team name? And Shiri tells her, oh no way. That's it, our group of friends has now become a group of supernatural, demon, ghost, monster hunting kids looking to figure out what's going on. And the next day they all meet up and decide to share all of the information on the supernatural that they have. But all they have is something is riling up all of the supernatural entities in the city. So Shiri tells Rory, look at the patterns. You said you can see them, so where does it tell us to go? Rory concentrates and she looks around to see lots of threads once again. So she takes her friends with her as they follow these threads. And they lead them down into some decommissioned subway tunnels, and to a man surrounded by all kinds of demons, ghosts, and kappa. Ayen and Shiri begin to prep up and get right into fighting while Rory begins trying to figure out what this whole thing is. Why do all of the threads lead to this one man? And why is he waiting here with every kind of supernatural element possible? With Ayen and Shiri not having any problems, Nikaido runs off to look for a safe place to hide. The fear eventually becomes too much and he shouts out, no! With that simple blast of psychic energy, it destroys everything in the area from the subway to the monsters and knocks down all of his friends. The entire subway is in rubble as Rory runs over to the man. She needs to know what all of this is about. And he tells her, this was all a deception to lead you away and lower her defenses. Rory thinks about it and she realizes, this is all about her mother. And with a surge of power, Rory leaps out of the broken subway tunnels and moves faster than she's ever moved before, following the threads back to her own mother. Meanwhile, Ayen gets up and sees the skies darkening and growing angry. Rory Lane's going home, the sky is angry, we need to follow and protect her. But Rory is way ahead of them, moving faster than any human has ever moved before until she reaches home. And what she finds there is the demons are holding her mother by the head, and a man in a proper suit and a hat are welcoming her. Rory looks into her mother's beaten and bruised face and her mother tells her, Rory, run, get to! And a demon cuts off her mother's head, revealing that the threads are all attached to her mother's body. Tears begin to pour down Rory's face as she yells out no, and the man in the suit's eyes go wide. It's been you all along, a half-breed weaver. Get her! The demons press Rory's head into the ground and the man walks over kneeling before Rory. Your mother and I were associates and she was misbehaving, so we had to punish her. Now, I know this is difficult for you, but let's try and move past that. What did she teach you about the weave? And Rory quietly says, nothing. When suddenly Shiri and an army of angry cats come barreling into the room. The demons quickly begin battling against everyone and start lighting the place on fire, trying to get rid of the cats. But Rory gets back onto her feet and she draws with her fingers in the air and she writes the word, destruction. So the entire place explodes and the whole building comes down on itself with everyone inside. A short time passes and the fire department is trying to move the rubble around when they find some cats. The cats all get up and they begin to run down a street and into an alley where there's a cowering Nikaido sitting. The cats then all form up into a single being, Ayen, and she puts her head into Nikaido's lap where she simply says, they're gone. It's been 3 months since the accident. A couple of students from the school have been missing ever since then, and one of them was Rory Lane. And Ohara Emi can't stop thinking about her. She only saw her once when she was going to the bathroom, but the look in her eyes, the look of pain, stayed with Ohara. She doesn't know why it stayed with her or why it bothers her so much, but it does. So the day after school, she takes her usual route home, swinging by a store to buy some gashapon, little plastic toys. Ohara likes the fact that these little cute toys are in a bubble, like she is. But as she begins to pick it up, it begins to feel warm, and her hand begins to change to the color of the toy. Panicking, she drops it, wondering what just happened. But either way, she heads home. It's at home that she goes to bed until a bright red light beams through her window. Looking up, she sees Rory hovering there, surrounded by red ribbons. She presses her hand against the glass to reach out to her, to let her know that she's there and she can see her. And when Rory presses back against the glass, she begins to make the glass move. Ohara suddenly wakes up thinking, what a weird dream. And when she looks at the window, she sees the depression of a hand. Not really knowing what to make of it, she grabs her lunch and runs out of the house as quickly as possible. How could she even explain that? A ghost girl visited her in her dream? She went through her day like normal, but the whole time, she couldn't stop thinking about the night before. Was it a dream, or was it real? The only thing that gives her comfort is her routine in her safe bubble. But as she's coming down one of the alleys, strange green lights appear before her, and two dog-like creatures appear. They call out to her that she is one of them, and they charge at her. But somehow, she moves the very ground that they are running on and smashes the first dog between two stone slabs. She then begins to run as fast as she can until she gets to a chain-link fence, which she climbs and jumps over into a junkyard. She calls out for help, anyone! And the only things that seem to hear her are the cats. So the dogs get closer, and they tell her that she is done running. She is only prolonging the inevitable. When out of the blue, a girl with a nail bat jumps in and cracks the dog across the jaw. Cat daughter, you've stayed hidden, they tell her, and then she tells them she isn't a coward like the Kappa, as the dog grabs the end of her bat with a bite. Nikki, do it, she yells out, and a boy walks out from behind the junk. You must stay calm, he tells the dog, and it calms down and it begins to stare at him. So the cat girl cracks it over the face and then proceeds to beat on the dog mercilessly. Then, covered in blood, she turns to Ohara. I'm Ayane, and that's Nikito. We're the good guys. Ohara returned home that night and came up with the excuse that she had joined a club. That's why she was running late. Her mother then told her that they cleaned up the glass from her broken bedroom window. It turns out that the window broke and no one saw the handprint. So her next day was a weird one. She couldn't get out of her head what had happened until that evening when she met back up with Ayane and Nikki. She wants to know what's happening to her. She's getting weird feelings from these objects, and these demon thingies are chasing her. So Ayane asks her what she can do, and Ohara explains that when she touches objects, they become a part of her. And she tried to demonstrate with a post nearby, but it didn't work. But once Nikki gave her his bottle, she was able to turn her hands into a glass-type material. So the kids quickly deduce that it's a man-made object that she can absorb and move around. Since they figured out that she can control matter, Nikki explains that he can control emotions, and Ayane is connected to cats, and they ask Ohara to join them. Ayane explains that these monsters took two of their friends, and to keep the monsters from getting to her and Nikki, they're trying to kill them first. So they do that. They kill the monsters at night, and for the first time, Ohara begins to feel in control. She's actually enjoying doing this. Meanwhile, across Japan, the ribbons of life are swirling around two individuals who are coming back to the proper plane of existence. Rory and Shiri both awake on the ground in front of a temple, where a kindly old woman is tending to the cats. Shiri is worn out from whatever happened to them, so the old woman begins to help bring him inside, where they lay him down to rest. Back with the kids, Ayane is getting worse, angrier at the monsters, and Nikki can see it's happening. So he takes Ohara aside to talk to her, and it's about how they need a long-term plan. Because going out every night to kill the random monsters just isn't getting them anywhere. It was Rory who could see the patterns of life and tell them where to go. That's why they had her killed. But Ohara tells him that Rory is alive. She saw her out her window before meeting them. She believes that Rory is searching for something, and once she finds it, she'll come back to the group. Back with Rory, Shiri is coming unraveled in front of her eyes. His threads are coming out of his body. So she tries something new, something that she's never done before, as she taps right into him and repairs the damage done. While doing so, she can see his past, present, and future. She sees where the group has been and where it needs to go. And once she saves Shiri, she decides that they need to go back for the others. It's the only way that they can all survive. Back with Ohara and Nikki, they're trying to figure out where they should go next, and that's when Ayane shows up holding a bunch of random giant spiders. The dirt spiders are going to help us. At first, Ohara changes her arm into a giant metal club, but the spiders explain that they want to help. The leader of the enemy army is hunting down those that they can't control, and the dirt spiders are being targeted. So it's decided that they'll plan a direct attack. Meanwhile, Rory and Shiri are following the patterns to Ohara's home. Then, to Shiri's surprise, Rory starts displaying a crazy amount of control over her powers as she changes their clothes to something that looks better. She then walks upstairs into Ohara's home and runs at crazy speed and taps into her parents' heads with the word weakness so that they can't stop them. She then walks into Ohara's room and sees where they saw each other out the window. The girl's name is Ohara, and she saw me as we tumbled through the weave, Shiri. Shiri finally catches up and grabs her by the shoulder. Rory, this is crazy. I'm not going to hurt them. And then Rory walked over to her parents. Your daughter is a part of something bigger than you can comprehend. She's not the young girl that you once knew, and if you get involved, you will die. This is how it goes, trust me. Your only chance is if I break the ties that bind you to her. Shiri looks in as Rory begins to manipulate the weave, change the way things should be, and she makes them forget. She changes their memories. They never had a daughter named Ohara. The rooms all change to reflect that, and Rory then walks out of the house. As they go down the elevator, Shiri tells her that her magic is getting out of control, but Rory tells him that it's finally working properly. She is a weaver and she can change the strings of fate, and she knows it. Shiri isn't happy with that response, and he simply tells her that if you try that mind shit on me, I'll kill you. Back with the kids and the dirt spiders, they approach the temple with an army of cats ready to fight. The monks of the temple begin to tear their own skin off, revealing the monsters beneath. And as the civilians flee, Nikki throws a Molotov at them, and Ohara takes a swing with her steel pipe arms and a steel pipe. They're doing an amazing job, taking out each of the monsters one at a time, until their leader, a Tengu, walks out and jumps in the middle, slamming his spear to the ground with a shockwave. He demands that they leave or they be destroyed. That's when the Dirt Spider Queen tells him that his words are empty. The upstarts lay claim to the kingdom, and Ohara runs in with her pipe. But what we finally see is that Ohara has a little spider in her ear telling her how to do this, what to do, giving her strength, telling her that she is fearless as she jumps in and begins fighting the Tengu. Over and over she swings until finally he gets a slice in at her back. But she managed to make her skin steel back there as well. And she lifts the spear right off her own back as Nikki begins messing with the Tengu's emotions, and Ayane sends a cat in to bite down on the giant nose. Then, from behind, Ayane jumps in swinging her 2 nail bats and squashing his skull between them. Ohara then follows the spider's orders and begins to dig into the ground to find the proxy that the demons were using, the mummified body of a monk. The Tengu drags himself up, his skull split open and an eyeball falling out. Please, you don't understand our future. But then, before she can destroy it, the weave begins appearing overhead, a big ball of the ribbons of life. Rory appears with Shiri and thanks Ohara for protecting her friends while she was away. And Shiri says, "Shit, did we miss a sweet fight?" She then points to the Tengu with the weave flowing around her. I've seen the weave in all of its glory. The threads of life control the world and our place within it. I know why these wayward children scare you, why you tried to separate us, control us, hunt us down. But it ends here. We're not running anymore. Your time is over. We are the new gods of Japan, and we're going to wipe you out. 3 months later, after Rory's battle, a man walks the busy streets of Japan thinking about how this lane is their home. But lately, all he can do is feel rage churning inside. Things are changing and he can no longer control them. Since his ancestors worked so hard to create peace, it is now up to him to maintain it. Folktales became shadows, and those shadows became the yokai. And he is the Nayori Hayan, and now their life is on the edge of extinction because of these children. However, back then, shortly after the battle with the Tengu, Rory collapsed after exerting her power using the ribbons, and the dirt spiders carried her body back into hiding. One of the spiders stated that their friend has great power with no knowledge of how to temper it, though she did shatter the yokai power base. Right now, reality sees her as a threat and is trying to remove her. And Ayane tells them that they can't lose her now. She just came back. Do something to save Rory. The spiders tell her that they are allies and they will do everything in their power to keep her safe. Elsewhere in Tokyo, though, a man begins watching the news reports of the battle that just took place, and while watching, the power goes out. The man shouts that the stupid power grid went out. Guess he'll just have to go to the cafe with his laptop. And then he notices his monitors and hands glowing. He reaches out to the monitors and suddenly the screens begin to come back on, though there is no power going to them. Back at the dirt spider's temple, Ohara stares into the forest and Nikiru checks on her asking if everything's okay. And she tells him with everything that's been happening, she wants to see her parents. And Nikiru tells her it's okay. They have responsibilities and family is one of hers. She should go back and see them and then just join them again. A short while later, Ohara runs home and walks into her apartment and tells everyone that that she's home, but instead of welcoming her, her parents shout asking, what does she think she's doing? Ohara begins to apologize for being late, but her father stands up asking, who is she? And why does she have a key to their apartment? She tries to tell them not to yell, it's Emmy, their daughter, but her father shouts that they have no daughter. What kind of prank is this? Ohara reaches back, touching the wall, stating, please, no, and then begins to create a tunnel all the way back down into the sewers and falls through it, telling herself, oh god. However, back with the man from before, he begins to walk down the streets, seeing the electricity, and it's like the whole city is pulsing, like a heartbeat, it's alive. As he turns down an alleyway, a group of Kitsune stop him, stating that they smell the stench of a newfound power mixed with fear. His young friends caused him much pain, and they intend to return it in kind. One Kitsune from the roof fires an arrow at the man and it begins to burn before reaching him. Another man then steps out, telling them not to be hasty. The new man turns to him and tells him that he can help him wield that power in a way that benefits them both. Over at the airport, a man is stopped by extra security, and he's taken back where he is set down and he asks what he's doing here. The security asks who he is, and he responds with Dermot Lane, and he's not leaving Japan until he finds his daughter. Back over at the Dirt Spider's temple, Ayane sits with Rory and she begins to scream and flail in pain. Ayane tries to calm her down, but the spiders begin wrapping her up, stating that Rory altered reality without understanding the repercussions. They will have to keep her from harming herself. All they can do is wait, but she can use her anger to help Nikki rout out the Kitsune hiding in Harajuku. As Ayane leaves, the spiders tell Shiri that he should go help as well, and he says that Rory saved his life, he's not about to leave. But as the spiders begin to leave, he hears crying coming from the outside and he finds Ohara crying. He asks her what happened and she says that she went home, but it was all wrong. Her parents didn't know who she was. How could this have happened? And Shiri looks away, stating he doesn't know, but he does. He was there when Rory altered reality, erasing Ohara from her family. Over in Harajuku, Nikki looks down on a crowd of people and begins to look into their emotions, trying to find the Kitsune. After locating them, Ayane appears, stating that she's here to help him and there's no time to waste, and she jumps down from the building shouting, it's playtime! One Kitsune starts to sneak up behind Ayane, but she flings her bat back, killing him, and then throws the body at another. She transforms into her cat form and appears behind another one, telling him boo, and then cracks him and flings his body away. One girl jumps on her, telling her that she's a little beast, isn't she? Then show her more, to which Ayane smiles and tells her, okay. The two begin exchanging swings, but through the fight, Ayane manages to kick the girl away while Nikki makes his way down. Two Kitsune begin to charge at Nikki, and then using the anger from the crowds, he channels it, causing the Kitsune's heads to explode. After witnessing that, the girl fighting Ayane yells, holy crap, okay, I surrender. Confused, Ayane says, what? And the girl says that she respects strength and they have proven theirs. So spare her and she will pledge her fealty to their cause. Or they can kill her here. Either way, her life is in their hands. Back at the temple, Rory begins to awake from her sleep and the spiders begin to untangle her. Shiri helps her up, asking if it was like last time. What did she see? And Rory says that she only saw flashes of possibilities, dangling threads, but all of them led to the same thing: war. But what Rory doesn't see is one of the smaller spiders crawling inside of her ear. Elsewhere in the temple, a woman sits, stating that it is their time to take over, and she calls out that they don't have any time to waste, they need to gather the others. And back with Rory, she repeats the same thing. Ayane and the others walk in, and Ayane runs up hugging Rory, stating that she's been missing all the fun. They just fought a bunch of Kitsune in Harajuku, and one thought that they were so cool that she joined them. Her name is Inaba. Shiri argues that they should kill her, but while him and Inaba bicker, the woman as Rory tells them both to stop. If Ayane brought her here, let them hear what she has to say. Inaba tells them that the yokai fear them in their new order. Since her warriors spared her, her life is theirs. Inaba then explains that the Kitsune clans are in disarray, and the Genkoro are trying to gather his samurai foxes, and she knows where they are hiding: the Tokyo Tower. A short while later, Genkoro begins to gather his army and prepare for battle because Rory and her wayward children are already getting ready to strike. One of the Kitsune calls out for everyone to kill the red-haired one as she is their leader, but just as the samurai charge, the dirt spiders begin to crawl out from the ground, stomping them. Rory weaves through the battle until she grabs a hold of Genkoro by the neck and tells him that this young girl has a destiny far greater than to die by him. The dirt spiders protect her and her powers serve them. The word fly appears and the two of them shoot off towards the top of the tower, and Rory throws Genkoro through a window inside. As he starts to stand back up, Genkoro says that he can smell it now: the stench of the spider, Jorogumo. She has taken over the girl's mind. Jorogumo says yes. While she was asleep, this godling and her friends would build a future where his kind are but a distant memory. Down on the ground, the battle continues as Nikki tells Ohara to go after Shiri. He will stay out here with Ayane and Inaba. But as she runs into the building, she sees Shiri completely destroying the Kitsune. One Kitsune swings down on Ohara, but she turns her hand into metal, catching the blade. And then she redirects the tip of the blade and fires it through the Kitsune's mouth. As the body falls, Ohara asks Shiri if he enjoys this, because he really looks like he is, and he tells her, of course, these assholes tried to kill us, you know? However, back up top, the weave begins to appear and the ribbons grab a hold of Genkuro and begin slamming him into the window as Yorogumo tells him to look at his future. Look at it! And then the word fire appears. Soon the entire Tokyo Tower, along with all of the Kitsune, begin to burn until the Kitsune are nothing but ash. Ohara watches as everyone and everything is burning, and she says, all of this is horrifying. The fire begins to die down, and Nikki looks over asking Inaba if this bothers her, seeing her kin die like this, and she tells him no. They were weak and obsolete anyway. Ayane calls out to Rory as she floats down, and as Ayane catches her, Rory says that she doesn't quite feel right. Where are they? And then she falls back asleep. Back at the temple, Yorogumo awakes from her channeling as the spiders bring her some substance to regain her strength. As she sucks the life from the person wrapped up, she says that they finally have the upper hand. The strings of fate have been woven and the spiders will be at its center. Back out in the city, the Reuniting watches the tower burn, and the man from before, Segawa, sends him a message asking if he's seeing what's going on. The net is freaking out, but instead of texting back, Reuniting just calls him asking if he can tell him about this internet thing. The next day, the Reuniting and Segawa walk discussing how Segawa can feel the network. And he says, yeah, it's totally awesome. All he needs is an interface like his phone and he can send and receive anything that he wants. The Reuniting tells him that he is pleased to see his progress, but he wants to bring him somewhere special. Because his newfound ability to contact and influence networks, he wants to see if they can take it a bit further. The two of them walk into a warehouse where the Reuniting says that this is the loom, a magic-powered machine that can perceive the strings of fate, and he wants Segawa to connect him to it. As the weeks begin to pass, Rory and the others continue their path of destroying the yokai strongholds, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. And back at Reuniting's warehouse, after 4 weeks of channeling, Segawa falls back after being shocked by the loom. The Reuniting runs over to check on him, asking if he's okay, and Segawa just tells him that he made contact. This is the mother of all networks, so what is it that he wants to know? Back at the temple, Rory begins to wake from another battle, and Shiri tells her that this is getting crazy. They go out and fight, and then she collapses and sleeps for about a week. She can't keep doing this. Rory tells him that they are winning the war. Isn't that good enough? But as he walks away, he tells her that he isn't sure anymore. Once outside, Ohara follows him, stating that she doesn't want him to be alone, but Shiri tells her that he's never actually alone. He's always haunted. As she hugs him, Shiri says, wait. He has never told her the truth. He knows why her parents forgot about her, because he was there. He then tells her how Rory used her powers to wipe their minds of Ohara. He thinks that she was trying to protect her so that they wouldn't see her in danger. Ohara falls to her knees asking, oh God, why? It's all gone. Rory ruined my life. But then they hear a voice telling them, yes, all is ruined. The two look up to see a floating spirit, and Shiri tells it to stay back, but the spirit says, or what, you'll destroy me? Good, because death is what I desire. The spirit begins to attack, shooting eyeballs, and Shiri and Ohara begin to defend themselves. The spirit tells them that it can see the changes in fate. The age of the yokai is over, so complete his journey and send him into forever. Shiri shouts that he's had enough, and he jumps forward, punching the spirit's eyes, creating a massive explosion. As the dust settles, Shiri says the spirit is still there, and then it begins to fly into his mouth. His eyes begin to glow, and he says that its power is inside of him. He can see everything, and he can see that the spiders are infesting them, trying to take over. Elsewhere, the Reuniting and Segawa visit the Japan Ministry of Defense to meet with the minister and the vice minister. The Reuniting tells him that he is here to talk with them about the future of the yokai and the future of Japan. But as it begins to set fire to the office, he says that he knows about the person they detained from the airport, and he was hoping to use him as a bargaining chip, so they should make a deal. Back in the streets, Ayane and Inaba head over to where the next yokai den is, and as they arrive, Ayane notices that there isn't any kappa around. So maybe they should shape change and take a look. As Inaba changes into a fox, Ayane says, holy crap, you're adorable! And Inaba tells her to shut up. Let's go. The cats and Inaba begin to sniff around, and Inaba says that she smells it too. Something isn't right, and as the cats poke their heads into the holes of the building, they see Japanese soldiers, and one shouts fire. Bullets begin pouring out of the building, hitting the cats and Inaba, and as the soldiers come out, the cats begin attacking as Inaba changes back, cutting away. After reappearing, Ayane grabs one of the soldiers' guns and shoots it back at him, and Inaba continues cutting away until she finally cuts the head off of the last soldier. Inaba says that they knew that they were coming, and Ayane says they need to get back to the temple. However, back at the temple, the Japanese soldiers are already gathering, and the Neri Ohara steps out from one of the armored vehicles looking at the temple as Rory steps out to face them. Over in Joroguma's location, the spiders tell her the military is moving on their location, but before they can escape, Shiri stands before them. The spiders tell him to move aside, and Ohara tells them that they're not taking any more orders from them, and Shiri grabs Joroguma by the throat, telling her that he sees all of the strings that she's pulling. Before striking her, Joroguma tells him that his friends are being surrounded at the temple, and then Shiri notices not just that, the soldiers are here as well. The smoke grenade bounces into the room, and the bullets begin to fly through, hitting Joroguma, and Ohara grabs onto Shiri, pulling him down into the ground. The soldiers begin to secure Joroguma, and below them, Shiri and Ohara wait. Back at the temple, the Neri Ohaya call out to Rory, stating that he knows that she's confused and wants to lash out, but she must wait and be patient. There is someone also here who's dying to see her, and Rory realizes who that is. From the walls, Ayane and Inaba appear shouting, "Surprise! Give them hell, kitty cats!" And they start to fight, and Segawa begins to control one of the tanks and begins firing it at Inaba. Through the confusion, Rory's dad, Dermot, breaks free as Ayane's cats attack the Neri Ohaya. The rest of the cats begin attacking the rest of the soldiers as Inaba takes down Segawa. Seeing as the fight isn't going in his way, the Neri Ohaya picks up his hat and tells himself the past is gone. The future is unclear, and he walks off. Through the smoke, Rory asks if she is the one who did all of this, and then Dermot appears telling her that he's not leaving without her. She tells him that she's so sorry, and the letters begin to glow on her arm, and he holds out his hand telling her that there is nothing to worry about, and the letters begin to glow on his hand. He tells her that her dad's got a plan. They're going somewhere safe. A light begins to shine, and Ayane jumps on the back of Rory, and a ball of light begins to shine bright, and then Rory wakes up in a field. Ayane tells her not to worry. No matter what happens, she will protect her, and Rory leans up asking, "Where are they?" Dermot says, "Beloved daughter dear, you don't recognize it. We're in Ireland, silly girl."
And that was the full story for the first 3 volumes of Wayward that we covered on the channel about 10 years ago. What did you think of the story, as well as these much older Comicstorian videos? Let me know down below. Like and subscribe to help out the channel, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.